There we go. Happy Sunday night, everybody. Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. Sorry I'm late. I'm Deanna. I was just freshening up. Didn't realize it was 7:04. I had a jam-packed last 15 minutes, right, Joss? This last hour has been cuckoo. So happy to see you. Welcome back. Thank you for coming on a Sunday night. Friday was just frantic. It has just been so frantic. Melissa, great to see you. Incredibly, I'm a hot mess right now. Sorry, having coffee tonight. That's going to backfire, isn't it? I don't know if this is decaf. Is this decaf? I hope this is decaf. Because I made it hours ago and then I forgot and then I reheated it. So it could be that this is going to be a bad night, but it's still worth it. I need something. Great to see you, Cheryl. Cheers, my dears, and welcome back. Gretty, great. Gretty, I have to send your stuff back. I'm so sorry. I have to send you and Mike your thing back. I will do it super soon. I promise. It continues to be so crazy here. I just don't know what I'm going to do to get the reins again on my life. I just don't know. Carol, great to see you in Northford. Happy cocktail night on a Sunday. Jane, great to see you. Welcome, and it's great to see you. This is not our normal night. Let me just take one quick sip. You'll never guess what I was doing until a couple of minutes ago. Joss, do you want to show? Here, be careful. You want me to show it? Yeah. Okay. So hang on, let me balance my coffee here. We went to the Renaissance Fair today in Connecticut, and we have not gone to this one before. Definitely was not for Teddy. There was too much ye olde stuff. Joss loves it because she loves to kind of dress up and all of that. So she wore her green alien dog, which was super exciting. A lot of people were dressed up and looking so cool. I wish that I had dressed up. I wish that this was the year I had time to make a cool costume or something. It was fun. It was not for Teddy. We've gone before, but this year it was definitely not for Teddy. But it was for Joss. It was really great. We've been to the one in Tuxedo, New York. We've been several times to the one in Carver, Mass. That's always been my favorite, the King Richard's Fair. But this time, we're so dang busy and we wanted to go, so we went to the one in Connecticut. It's still about an hour and a half away. In Lebanon, Connecticut. It was fantastic. It was 86 degrees, right? That's scary. But so many vendors. In fact, look behind me, and I'm gonna present you first with our new character back here. I don't think she has a name, but woman was selling these and fairy houses. I bought a couple of fairy houses, but for another season. But look at her. Oops, wait a minute. She's stuck. How pretty is this? She's like a little green witch. She's under a little veil, right? She's like a handmade doll. She's got a little broomstick and she's on three spools, right? And then just a little plaque. And she's covered. Her body's kind of it's like a gray polka dot, and she's got this. I don't know where the person found these scraps of bat. You see the lace and it's got bats on it. It's like chiffon, and then this sort of all this kinds of lace and gauze and just thought she was so pretty. She was like $60. I mean, she's a quite big doll. I thought she was absolutely gorgeous. So they're all going to take turns this season. She's going to go right here behind me. She's got colorful sequins. She's going to go right behind me and she'll be like the weird elf on the shelf, right? She'll be that kind of a thing. It was such a good fair. It was such a lot of fun. Thank you so much, Suze. Colleen, great to see you. Hello. In Northern Michigan. You are in Northern Michigan. Oh my gosh, are you having a great time? That sounds fantastic. Oh my gosh, Gail, great to see you in Australia. Good morning. Monday morning for you, isn't it? Happy new week. And Linda, great to see you. Happy to see you for cocktail night too. Diane, happy to see you. You have got your Cheers gin and tonic. That's very sophisticated. I like that. With a twist of lime. Oh my gosh. You belong in a bar with James Bond right now, something like, yeah, something fancy like that. That sounds great. Oh, that's right, Goretti, postal strike. I forgot about that postal strike in Canada. My friend Mandy just sent me, I can't show you, the cover of the next Magpie Times that she hooked with yarn. Thank God she got it to me now because I want to photograph it and everything. Because yeah, postal strike again. It's just so stressy. Let me know. Let me know when when they're working again. I'm sure it's for a very good reason. I don't know a lot about that, but thank God you reminded me. Happy Sunday, Joyce. Happy Sunday. Great to see you too. So we were at the Renaissance Fair today, and the music was so lovely. There were people playing instruments that I don't know. Some of them that look like kind of keyboards, but they sound like a kind of a dulcimer. But they're probably hybrid instruments that I watch the light baby that I haven't seen yet. Um, the music was so lovely. If it wasn't almost 90 degrees, it really would have been perfect. But so many nice things to buy. I got stuffed grape leaves for my food and like a porter beer. That was all I had. We saw some funny acts, like very smart acts, kind of in the Shakespearean vein. Not Renaissance, more sort of Elizabethan, but it was so charming and so much fun. Catherine, great to see you. Jocelyn got very inspired. She got very inspired. So I'm going to come back here, and you can still see the witch. Um, as we were driving home, she said, "Oh, do you have any time this afternoon?" And I thought, "Oh my God," because yesterday I taught all day. I'll show you the picture from that. Yesterday I taught all day, so I was not really mentally available, and then we went to stay at my mom's, so I didn't really do anything with her. So I thought, all right, well I have like an hour before I run the show, and I already had the show ready. So she said, "Can we make?" I'm going to show it to you, and you figure out what this is. It's part of a costume. It looks like this. No, I haven't stuffed it yet. We've got to resolve this part. This will go against her tailbone, right? So that's a clue. Um, it is indeed a tail. It's a very specific kind of a tail. See if you can guess what this is. She designed it, and we made the pattern pieces for it. So we will finish off the edge with the circle. That's what we were doing right before I logged on. It's when I lost track of time. And I will attach it to some kind of a belt. But you're probably guessing, and there's a delay. Her favorite animal, I guess fishes are animals. Are they animals? Her favorite animal is a fish, and it is an eel. So this is bright orange, kind of ruffled. She designed this whole thing beginning to end, and we sewed it together. This is the first thing that we sewed together that she designed the pattern for, and this is the last part we have to do. But yeah, Sue's, it's quite like a dragon tail, more of a nubbin. I said to her, shouldn't it be longer? And she said, no. So she's got a different vision than I've got. But I think it's going to be great. And now she's got the pattern piece, and she wanted the stripe, right down the middle and stuff. So, I mean, all in this took us half an hour from drawing the pattern and talking about why you do things in a certain order, to her trimming these little points and stuff. I think I'm going to just fix a couple of them. But it's quite good. I'm very proud of her. So she's done her first eel tail, and it made me 4 minutes late to log on. Sorry about that. It was a good use of time. And man, if you could just see my work table now, whoosh, here comes an eel tail, and the that's a tongue twister I never thought of. And now my workspace is gone. It's just garbage everywhere. But it was well worth it. And it is a great job. Thank you. I love it when she does. And then she starts with, if I sell this pattern, how much do you think I could sell it for? I hate these conversations because I just don't know. Do you think I could sell the PDF download for $2? And I thought, I don't think anybody sells anything for $2, but we'll comparison shop, right? Speaking of which, let me ask you a very serious question at the beginning of the show, because in a minute I'm going to go full blast into our content. While I unpack boxes here and there as this move happens. And there's boxes all over the place. It's a total nightmare. It is chaotic and insane. My mom just stopped by too with my sister while we were doing the tail to drop the dog back off and to say hi. And I was so sort of not ashamed, but I just wish that the house looked more unpacked and ready to go. And they don't care, but I just wish it looked a bit better. It's still like boxes everywhere, and we've done a few things, but man, not much. So while I was unpacking stuff, thank you, Gail. She is clever, and she knows what she means to do. Because my sister said, "Is the eel tail going to be your Halloween costume?" And she said, "No, because we'll never have time to make the head." And I thought, my God, what do we do? Maybe like building like a Macy's Day float or something. Like what? How do you see the head like evolving? And I said, "No, Joss, I'm sure we have tons of time to make. I have a degree in costume, right? We can definitely make the head if you want to." So she's thinking about it, but I'm thinking, what is the overarching look to this costume? Because that's a little nubbin of a tail. But what else are we planning to do is the question. So while I was unpacking boxes and getting ready for stuff, I found this book. And I think we might have glazed over it once in like 2000. But I looked at it while I was eating the other day, and I thought, man, this is a lot of this is written by Joel and Kate Kopp of the more famous Rag Rug book, 1970s era. But this is a catalog. And let me see if there was a date on this. This is going to be what we look at tonight because it has some very curious stuff in here. 1974. So this is a catalog that was called Hooked Rugs in the Folk Art Tradition from the Museum of American Folk Art in Manhattan, right on 53rd Street. The exhibition, where is it? Over here. This was the name of the exhibition. And it seems it was September 19th to November 24th. Can you think of what you were doing? September 19th, September to November of 1974. I mean, I was 2 years old at that point. I guess I was going to nursery school and peeing in my pants and ripping all the doors of the advent calendar off. But other than that, I can't remember. But it's fun to think about, casting your memory backward. But it's a beautiful catalog that talks about making hooked rugs. And I know that we've looked at a couple of these rugs, but we haven't looked at most of them. And the exhibition is really, it really focuses on very early hooked rugs. And in such a way, and it's such a moment in time because there are rugs in here that are definitely Hutchinson rugs that are not attributed. So it's like, wow, I mean, that was before Kathy Wright obviously wrote the book. She co-wrote the book on the Hutchinson rugs. That's before a lot of sort of scholarship was done in the area of textiles. In the 1970s, we were not taking hooked rugs and textiles, including quilts, very seriously. There were some collectors who are, already fast and furious buying stuff up. But rug hooking was behind, right? There was even then a much smaller market for rug hookers. And the thing didn't have a shape at that point. It did not have a baseline. The pieces, like the foundation pieces to the craft, were not in place. This is still the era where we're saying Egyptians were the first people to rug hook, right? And now we know that is absolutely not true. They used all kinds of needles made out of bone and things like that, and they stitched, but they did not use things with hooks. There's no evidence of that until the end of, the third quarter of the 19th century. So it's just funny. This book is so interesting, filled with things we're going to look at tonight, images we're going to look at and say, ooh, that's a great idea. Isn't that clever? And that part of it is solid, but the part that's not solid, there's so many rugs in here that you'll recognize and you'll go, I know that rug, but it's not attributed yet. So interesting, isn't it? I find that really interesting. What I wanted to ask you, and I don't mean to start on a negative note, and I'm going to keep myself in order, I promise. I want to ask you this, because I got a lovely, and this is very sarcastic, a lovely email from a customer last night. I never get nasty grams from emails. I have to say, everybody is so nice, and with the exception of a couple of people accidentally over the years buying the wrong thing, like they bought the fiber tape and they thought it was actually a pattern on, fabric, things like that can happen, right? They can happen. But this was the first time I really had a situation with a customer that made me want to overturn tables and start setting fires. It was so crazy, and I'm not going to say who it was, of course, but essentially, in a nutshell, like I'm putting the multiple conversations, 3 or 4 insane late night emails, putting them into a crucible and burning them down so that it has a shape and it makes some sense. She basically wrote and said, I sent her one of the Alice Butler designs, and she wrote and said, I'm very disappointed. I mean, the email was, if it was on printer paper, it would have been like 4 pages long. I'm very disappointed with the pattern, and here's the reasons. Number one, you didn't finish the edges. You didn't stitch around the edges. You didn't even put duct tape around the edges, which obviously I would never put duct tape around. I mean, it's fine to put duct tape on the edges, but I would never sell patterns that have duct tape around the edges. I always stitch around the edges. I don't serge the edges, but I routinely do a zigzag stitch. And I have never one time forgotten to do that and sent a pattern out. And I still have never forgotten to do that. This includes this pattern. And she said it is on it's not on linen. You put it on the wrong backing material, and you put it on the cheapest backing material I have seen since I've been rug hooking these last 18 years. So I wrote back, okay. So first of all, I just did the pattern the day before yesterday. I definitely stitched the edges of the pattern. And she blasts back, you better put your glasses on. I'm not going to start. I'm not going to start. And sends me photographs of it. And I enlarged the photographs. And sure enough, on all of the sides, I can see my zigzag stitching. Granted, it is gray on white. It's like dove gray on white because I was sewing curtains in dove gray. But I can see the zigzag stitching on every piece. So I wrote back and said, thank you very much for the photographs because it allowed me to see that there is zigzag stitching and all of the edges are finished. Well, this is the cheapest backing material I've ever seen, and I've been hooking for 18 years. Okay, so I said, okay, so this is actually the premium linen. And here's my question to you. I switched from the darker linens to bleached linen, and it is a premium. It's more expensive than natural linen because it is natural linen, but it's had the further step of being bleached white. And since I decided to use it, I have gotten really positive feedback so far that people can see it better. And that includes me with my 3.5 glasses. I can definitely see a black line on white better than I can see a black line on dark brown. So, or even light brown. So I've been loving it and I've never gotten bad feedback about it. It is the backing fabric that I routinely stock is white linen from Dormill. It's always from Dormill. I don't wholesale fabric with anybody else. It's just Dormill. So, so I let her know, that the edges were stitched indeed. And she, to this moment, she disagrees that they're stitched. She can't see the stitches. They're not stitched. So she said, well, I'm going to bring, this piece of garbage into Terry Dorr on Monday morning and show him. And, he'll tell me if this is linen that comes from Dormill. If you could see right here, I don't dare move the camera, but all my bolts of white linen from Dormill, directly from Dormill. And they're more expensive than the regular linen. So I said, you know what? You don't have to do that because I have already sent him, and I CC'd Nancy, who's in sales, an email saying, relaying your message so that they knew that the message was from you and the feedback that you had not seen backing this bad in all of the 18 years that you've been rug hooking. And I further asked, do you get a lot of negative feedback regarding this particular product? Because when I started stocking it, I was told this is the premium, right? If you want to really treat your customers and you don't mind spending a little more, get this one. So I said, that's me. Let's go. Because I use it too. So I got it and whatever. So I wrote, but she wrote, oh, no, you don't need to write to Terry. And I said, oh, no, I've already done it. I had already done it. And I'd already sent the email out. So I said, he's got all your information. He will explain to you why their backing fabric is the worst looking backing fabric that a person has seen in 18 years, for example. So I thought, okay, let's finish up with that because I had to take 2 sleeping pills after that. But I do want to ask you, because I'm not a pighead and I don't need to be right, but I have only ever gotten good feedback about the white door linen, which is Ribbon Candy Hooking's like signature backing. Everything goes on that backing. I paint on it. I transfer patterns onto it. Everything goes on white. I don't put anything on brown anymore, and I haven't for like a year plus. Ever since I started using the white, I've only gotten good feedback. But I want honest feedback. If anyone is out there and you're thinking, I also don't like the white, I wish she would go back to the natural, please tell me. I don't want to be right. I want, particularly when I'm paying extra for it, right? I don't want to be right. I want to know that when you order patterns from me, that you get them and you love it. Because I know that I love hooking into the white, but I'm just one person, right? And there's lots of us. So please, honestly, let me know if you order patterns from me and you get the white and you think, I just don't like the white. Because I do want to know. I do want to know. I don't think I have it in me right now with unpacking the house to put every product in the store, which is like a couple thousand or more. I would have to go into every page and add a variable to offer it in 2 colors of linen. I definitely don't see that on the horizon between now and Christmas. But I'm going to read your feedback here. Um, so it would be one or the other. Like I want to keep it simple these days because I still sell the other backing fabrics too, right? I still have the rug warp and the monk's cloth, and those also come from Door. I don't. Everything comes from Door for me now. It's just easier that way. So I'm so curious to know because it was such a blast at like 11:30 at night that man, it got my blood boiling. Judy says I'd encourage her to take this time to learn and explore her craft rather than pressuring her to monetize everything right off the bat. Just enjoy. You don't have to hustle just yet. Oh, Judy, the tail, the crazy tail. I know, I know. She has been thinking about the costumes as a business for a while, but I think we need to be sure that our patterns work first, and that she can sew them. Cecile, I live 1 hour from Door. I love white linen from Door. I can see my hooking better than the primitive linen. Thank you. That's great feedback. And Judy says, I also find it easier to transfer patterns and hook on the light linen. Okay. Keep, you can also email me, and if it's to the contrary, I am not invested. This conversation got me. I have to admit, it got me. It was so crazy and so off the rails. And then she started saying, well, I hope you know people are like counterfeiting. What's the word? Like um, knocking off your patterns. And she sends me a picture of the Alice Butler, like just to wind me up extra. And I said, I don't think, I can't be sure, right? I can't be sure. But I don't think that's someone knocking off my pattern. I think that's someone who ordered either a PDF download or a fiber tape, which I offer, and transferred it onto their own backing, right? Why are we jumping to the conclusion that someone is knocking off my patterns just to wind me up further after 2 significant wind-ups? I wonder why people have to be like this. I guess some people just default to nasty, and I just don't get it. I just don't get it. It doesn't give anybody a good name. These are the kinds of people I try to avoid. But I want to stock stuff that the most people like. And if I'm paying extra to stock something, right, that's a more expensive product that people don't like, I hope that you would always tell me that. If you ever get anything from me, and I love you no matter what, right? Not her, not her, because nobody comes out of the gate like that and expects me to be normal, right? In the response, but but anybody normal who I already know and love, always tell me if something's wrong. I always want to make it right. I am very fast to say, let me fix that for you, right? I'm not the kind of person who's like, sorry, I can't help you. But you come at me from that angle, and I'm like a horse who starts kicking with my, I'm like a donkey in a tin stall when you come at me like that. But always tell me when there's stuff wrong, because I do want to know, and I always want to make it right, right? Oh dear, I know it, Suze. I know it. It's like, oh God, it like, and it's. I should not check my email at night, right? Because you see things at night that wind you up, whether it's TV or whatever. And then I had the 2 sleeping pills, and I had the worst dreams all night. They were horrible dreams about things happening. I can't even say because it was so bad with the kids, like accidents and things like that. I had the worst night. So, note to self: read my books of poetry at night, read my books of philosophy, inspiration, self-help, write in my diary, sketch in my sketchbook, and turn the dang computer off, right? That was a hard lesson to learn last night. Um, I tried to sort of infuse like happier thoughts in my head. So I put on my neck light, right? Because I was at my mom's with the kids in anticipation of the Renaissance Fair. And we're so close now, but it's still fun to sleep over sometimes. So I put my neck light on, and I took out the book, and I started looking at it, and I thought, oh, we're going to have fun tonight looking at some of these. Now, this is not going to be a colorful episode, right? Because these are not color photos. There's a couple color photos in this book. And I know we've looked at the cover one before, so I'm not going to focus on the cover one. There's a couple that are in color in the book, but I got to say, weirdly, they're not my favorite ones. I don't think they're the most interesting ones design-wise or from a historical angle either. Um, with the exception of the centerfolds, not the kind of centerfold that you're thinking. It's a boat, it's a landscape, it's a seascape. But it was so big, I really couldn't get a good photo of it. This I thought was an exceptional piece that I want to show you this way. And I'll tell you a little bit about it. This will be our only color and I am in the dark. You know, I'm in the breezeway on my set in the dark. But what a beautiful piece. Let me bring it a little bit closer to you. And you can see there is a little color shift. This is a straight up seascape, right? And it is probably a yard long. We'll find out in a second. But don't you love this crazy sky? Doesn't it almost look like there's a map in the sky? And it got me thinking, wouldn't that be a cool touch if you did an epic piece like this to, instead of doing marble cake or some other kind of hit or miss fill in the sky, wouldn't it be cool to like actually do a map, like make the lines be right? I love this piece because do you notice they keep up the nautical look by putting the what do you call those spear things to get the whales? Harpoons, right? Harpoons. They put the harpoons on the side. There's some kind of an arrow here, and at the bottom there's an oar. So I think this, well, this refers to a whaling scene. I'm seeing the whales now all over the place, and they're taking some boats out. So that's the big boat, right, that would have gone out, the whaling ship, and then, you know, the whalers went into the small boats and paddled out, and then they tried to harpoon at a short distance, at a close distance, the whales, right? So this rug depicts that scene. Let me find this and tell you what I can tell you about this. Number 5, let's see. And again, I'm showing you that one first because it's not in the slideshow, and it is the only color one that I'm going to look at tonight because the black and whites have a lot of storytelling for us. So now let me just make sure that that's correct. I just read the caption. I want to be sure. That didn't make a lot of sense, but it might be right. It might be right. Yep, it is right. So the seascape that I just showed you, the text that goes with it. Now remember, this is a catalog guide for a 1974 hooked rug show at New York's Museum of Folk Art, right? And so the text in this went along with the exhibit. So it says for number 5, William Kent did considerable research in the 1920s in England to discover the origin of hooked rugs. He found many examples of pegged or broaded with a B, which now they would say proddy or proggy, rugs, but was unable to find any English literature on hooking or examples in museums or collections. So that's the text that goes with that seascape. Unexpected, right? It's almost like it's a piece of trivia that's mixed in, and it's an interesting piece of trivia, but it has nothing to do with that image. So they didn't cite anything but Susan, great to see you. Oh, how funny, you're reading Moby Dick right now? Susan, are you going to go to Herman Melville's Arrowhead in the Berkshires? You're going to go to that house and visit while you're reading it? I think you've got to. Maybe you've already been there. What a beautiful little, it's a very small house, but it's a beautiful house to tour. And the interesting thing about that, Herman Melville, as a very young man, like as a boy, went to sea on a whaling boat to make a little extra money. But he didn't go back, right? He didn't dislike it, but he didn't go back. His life went in a different direction. He became kind of an academic. But it's funny because he had experience on a whaling ship. He had that experience. But years later, as a much older man, he wrote Moby Dick, and he said he wrote it because, oh, what's the name of that mountain? There was a mountain right outside his window in the Berkshires that literally looked like the shape of a sperm whale, like rising up from the landscape, like a sperm whale, big boxy shape. What's that mountain called? Somebody's going to know. But I just thought that was interesting, that when people said to him, did you write Moby Dick because as a young man you went out on a whaling adventure? And he said, no, I wrote it because I would be sitting at my writing desk and looking out at this mountain, and it was shaped like a whale. And he was having such a hard time writing that book that it started to become like the Ahab Moby Dick dynamic. Like it was taunting him, driving him crazy, and the book evolved that way from the view out the window. It just goes to show inspiration is funny, and it's hard to catch it. It's hard to keep it, and you don't know where. Greylock. It is Greylock. Thank you. No, it is Greylock. Yeah, that's a fun house to tour. I think I learned that when I went to that house, but it's in there somewhere. So we didn't get any information on that particular rug. Let's see what we get for some of these other rugs. Now, first let's look at the introduction because it's going to be dated, so I'm not going to cover all of this. Let's cover the intro because 1974 was a while ago. I wonder if anybody went to this exhibit back in the day. Let me just take a sip of this. All right. So it says as the intro, the Museum of American Folk Art exhibition program is designed to bring special attention to each of the particular categories of folk art. Hooked Rugs in the Folk Art Tradition is the first exhibition. Okay, so this was like a revolving exhibition where they swapped out different mediums within folk art. So they probably had a sculpture one. They might have had like a naive painting, right? They might have had like, I don't know, decoys or carving decoys or something like that. Who knows? But it wasn't just hooked rugs. But it was the first one that they chose. Kate and Joel Kopp, who we just mentioned, have done a superb job researching and assembling the hooked rugs included in the show and recorded in the catalog. These rugs have the beauty, spirit, and charm of the best folk art. Whether pictorial, geometric, or floral, each conveys the individuality of the artist. That is so true of any design, whether it's commercial or not, doesn't it? The artist comes, the lines are there, but the artist comes through with much more presence than, in my opinion, I'm sure there's a lot of designers who wouldn't agree with this, but lines on your pattern are just lines on your pattern. If I send you a pattern that you might end up hating, I'm stopping. I promise I'm stopping. Those lines, right? Those are just the beginning. What happens later? You follow the lines, whether you follow them to a T or not. It's going to become way more you than it's me. That's why I am personally against, and I've said this before, and I know it's not a popular sentiment, but I'm personally against in exhibition situations having the name of the maker, having the name of the designer, having the name of the teacher, having the name of the person who works in the cafeteria and gave you a sandwich while you were making it. Just kidding. But I feel like at the end of the day, the designer, I feel, does matter because it is the drawing, right? But I feel the most important person and the first person to show up on any attribution has to be the maker, even if it's not their pattern. Because you work that, those colors work through you, your hand moves like a machine, your thoughts, you're layering yourself onto it. You are the work of art at that point, right? That drawing is gone. You can't even see it anymore. You can't even see my drawing anymore. It's yours now, right? So it's interesting that they put an emphasis on that as well in this exhibition. This catalog and exhibition have been made possible because of the generosity of, and then they name all the benefactors. So the book starts out, and again, it's a little catalog. You will find it on eBay. It's not, I just ripped the cover. It is, I found this in an antique store, but I have seen it on eBay. 29 pages, right? So 30 including the back cover. I can't believe I just ripped 2 pages. It's okay, I can tape them. So they start out by talking about the different kinds of rugs. And this can be tricky because we can be, this can be apples and oranges talk, right? So for example, let me show you, I'm going to show you, I want to go back to my first slide in the show, but I'm going to show you later because we're already, so this is the cover. If you're looking for it, this is the cover. And so let's look at this. Now this comes into the introduction. Hooked rugs have been called America's one indigenous folk art, both as a technique. Hold on one second. You good, baby? Heard Buttons licking something. I was hoping he doesn't like eat stuff. I was hoping he wasn't licking something like deadly. It's good. He's so quiet, honey. Are you okay, honey? Honey, you okay? Gosh, he seems so subdued today. So they're going to break down the different kinds. Oh, you come to say hi?
Oh no, I'm trying to find Papa.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know where Papa is. I'm running a show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Love you, Mom.
Yeah, come say hi later.
All right.
Okay. So hooked rugs have been called America's indigenous folk art. In this slide, so we don't know if this is Kate or Joel Kopp, but it is one of the two. They were a couple and they wrote extensively in the 1970s. Really important, trailblazing academic research books, papers, exhibitions, catalog brochures, all of this stuff. They really are like the pioneers of this. So hooked rug, so again, I'm reading the text. A hooked rug is used generically, and it includes 3 basic rug hooking techniques that preceded and influenced hooking. So I agree with that statement. That was a bit of a mouthful, but I agree with that statement. So under hooking, right, the cops are including, and that's KOPP, yarn sewn and yarn sewn clipped, which is a variation. So you see that at the top. Yarn sewn. No, I wouldn't include that as a hook drug. I would say hooking with yarn. So I disagree with the top one. Hooking with yarn. Okay, I'm going to disagree with 2 out of the 3. I wouldn't personally say that a yarn sewn or a shirred rug, which is also a sewn rug, are hook drugs, purely because they are not made with a hook. I think by the very definition, Joy, great to see you. Happy Sunday. I would say the very definition of a hook drug is that you've used a hook to make the rug. I think we've kind of boiled that down over the years, but certainly the yarn rug, the sewn yarn rug, or the clipped rug, which is still a yarn sewn rug that the pile has been clipped with scissors, those are predecessors. And the shirred rug is sometimes called the caterpillar rug, and it's made from pieces of fabric, as you can see in the illustration, pieces of fabric that are then sewn down to the backing. They are sewn down, so they are not hooked. So a shirred rug is not hooked. It looks like chenille, right? It looks like chenille, but you need a needle, and you do not use a hook. And finally, the hooked rug, right, which is the only version of a hooked rug that I would think makes a lot of sense. Let's talk this through for just a minute so we have the language in our heads. So this is going to be one of our cozy historic episodes, right? Yarn sewn rugs. Let's just get the definition of this in 1974. Yarn sewn rugs were made in America during the 18th century and the first quarter of the 19th century. During this period, women generally carded, spun, and dyed their own wool, processed their flax, weaving it into tow or linen. That is true, and it's also true that within a community, one person wouldn't necessarily do all of those things. Different people would do different functions, right? And they would collaborate to make the finished product happen, right? Yarn sewn rugs have a special quality as homespun wool was vibrant and lustrous. Natural dyes and mordants created colors that are still luminous today. I'm going to fast forward here. The base fabric for most yarn sewn rugs was homespun linen. Um, Homespun linen, wait a minute, or pieces of tow, which burlap, grain bags. There are rare examples made on a canvas base, usually a nautical or patriotic motif, so maybe like sailcloth, that kind of thing. Um, I'm just running through here because we don't want all of this. Some of it just doesn't refer to rug hooking at all. She touches on bed rugs. If this is Kate, she touches on bed rugs, RUGG. We've done a lot of episodes on bed rugs, and I would like to return to that subject. But if you're interested in bed rugs, between now and when we return to the subject, definitely look at some of the past coffee times and cocktail times because we cover them extensively. And the bed rug is another sort of predecessor to the hooked rugs. It is literally a rug that you move onto your bed, right? Because it's cold, and it doesn't live on your bed, right? In warmer weather, it's down on the floor. But people were, in place of having a really thick comforter or something really warm, they were making rugs that would go on the bed and fit the bed. And most beds, well, a lot of beds had a canopy kind of a structure, so they would be shaped like down, notch across, notch up, right? So that the posts, it could fold down over the posts. Catherine, 1974. That's the year we were married. Oh, great. Good for you. You remember what you were doing in 1974. You just got married. Would love to time travel and see this exhibit. It's funny to think of that time, isn't it? Because it puts these already super old rugs into that time. I mean, I'm picturing myself coming home from the Netherlands, right? Because I was born over there, and coming home on the SS France with my mom. My dad was traveling and doing other military, and my mom came home, and I'm just picturing the photos of coming off the SS France and all of the relatives with these giant dark bug glasses. She said I just cried. Everyone had the big 70s glasses on. You can picture the clothing. You can picture people walking through this exhibit, right, in the kind of clothing they would be wearing. And they're looking at the same rugs that we have been talking about all along. Isn't that a funny thought? They were looking at them then, and we're still talking about them in detail now, right? That's a funny thought. So during the introduction, she talks about Akkadian rugs, Waldoboro rugs, bed rugs, all under the category of sewn rugs. So the Waldoboro rugs are hooked rugs, right? So we know different things now. Different research has emerged. A lot of the pieces have been filled in. The scholarship just wasn't there when this catalog was written. It just wasn't there. So it wasn't a case of connecting the dots, right? It was a case of you can connect the dots, but it'll only make the constellations in this galaxy, but there's a bunch more galaxies, and unless we take those into account, we really don't have the full picture. You just connected some random dots, right, with the information that was available then. So then she goes on and talks about shirred rugs and thrummed rugs, right? I'm not going to get into this whole conversation about thrumming and sailors cutting the thrums off of the rope and all of that and using them, et cetera, et cetera. And pegged rugs, which she claims are 19th century a Scottish style of rug um, that was also made with a needle, right? Just sewing bits onto the backing with a needle. You know what's funny? I wasn't going to show you this. Let me show you this real quick because I just had this conversation with my sister when her and my mom just came over to drop the dog off. She remarked on this thing I've got hanging. I'm going to grab it for you because it's not an early thing. It's a probably 1960s thing. Sorry, I just had to get it down from its perch up there. It makes the point that I'm making here, right? So look at this, and at first glance, you probably think, "Oh, look at that." Let me change the color of my lighting. It feels like it's too yellow tonight. Let's see. Maybe that's too blue. Let's see how it goes. So when you look at this at first glance, what do you think? At first glance, you probably think that's a yo-yo quilt, right? But it's not a yo-yo quilt. It's the same deal. At first glance, sometimes you think that's a hooked rug, and then you flip it over, and do you see what I see? That is not a yo-yo quilt, is it? From the distance, it masks. What's that Gilbert and Sullivan line? Things are not quite as they seem when skim milk masquerades as cream. That's what's going on here. It looks like a yo-yo quilt. Somebody has made hundreds of yo-yos, right? It's not a huge piece, but somebody has made hundreds of it's a lame shell. It's a lame or lame shell. Yeah, it's just this is like I think this is a curtain. I think she has sewn all of these pretty yo-yos onto a curtain by the look of it. And you know what? When you look at it like this, you go, "Oh, come on," because I bought it off Facebook Marketplace, and it was maybe I think it was like $40. It's not huge, but I really loved it. I loved all the color and I loved the texture. I knew it wasn't a rug. When I looked at it, in the photos, I thought, "Oh, look at that." There's like some chiffon. It made me think of like old time nightgowns and things like that, and maybe men's ties. And I thought, "Oh, I just love it. I just love the stories that are in here." And then I got it and I went like this and I went, "Oh man, are you serious?" And all of the stitching too, all of the stitching, right? So rug hooking works the same way. Sometimes we look at it, and we go, "Absolutely a hooked rug, no question about it." And then you flip it over and it's like, you are a sewn rug, aren't you? You are a caterpillar rug. You are a different monster than I thought. So let me grab my book back. Same conversation. Now, let's flip back to, so there is a lot of good reading in here, I have to say. There is good reading, but not all of it is correct. So I don't want to read it, too much of it, and then kind of further ideas that we now know have been sort of superseded and overwritten with more correct information as we know it. So they gave us this great illustration of a yarn sewn rug, a shirred rug, and a hooked rug. Now, get ready to see the same three techniques from the back. Okay, so the yarn sewn rug, often when you flip over a rug that you think is a hooked rug, and you see this instead, you think to yourself, can it be hooking? And sometimes it takes a while, but you often realize, yeah, that's not hooking. That is a sewn rug. It just looks different. The shirred rug, different again. It's more like the yo-yo thing that I just showed you because it's haphazard stitches. It's where they have to be, right? It's where the thing falls. So that's easy to eliminate as a hooked rug. The bottom one is a hooked rug. But you see, with a hooked rug, you really are seeing a lot more material on the bottom. It's almost completely filled on the bottom. You're not seeing a lot of backing as you do with a yarn rug. With a yarn rug, the yarn is making great height, whether it's clipped or looped. And that's, that's the story is on the front of it. On the back, it's way more sparse. With hooked rug, you're just using fuller materials, whether you've got strips or yarn. You're using um, um, you're using materials in a way that's packing them a lot more. You're pulling up loops that can be shorter, right, depending on how you hook, but you are definitely not filling in. You're filling in much more fully than you would if you had a needle in your hand. With a needle, you just could not fill in as completely and thoroughly as you can with a hook, right? It's apples and oranges. So that is really interesting. And they finally show us hooking technique, so we can see how this works. So we know how this works. They've got the hook tilted a little bit, which isn't a bad thing. Some people hook in different directions. This is not the correct way, right? The correct way would be for the hook to be the front of the hook to be pointing to the left. But I mean, everybody actually no, it's backwards, isn't it? It's backwards. So just tilt it a little bit more. This bit of an artsy illustration. You want to go in the direction of your strips, right? You want to keep going forward with the hook. So it's a funny illustration, a little bit confusing, but it's definitely telling us how this is done, and it's showing us how important running in a straight line is. And it's also telling us something else that's a bit more subtle. This only works in a woven material, right? This is clearly like it's got a warp, it's got a weft. This is a woven. Which woven? Who knows, right? And who cares, right? It doesn't matter. Hooking works in any woven, including wool itself. So interesting. Lots of cute things happening here. Lots of information. Some of it out of date, right? That's all it is. Some of it out of date. Now, I'm going to pause for a second before I forget and say, speaking of out of date rug forms, I don't have mine. I think I put it downstairs in the basement already, but I just want to show you real fast before I forget, because I've already forgotten. On Saturday, so that was yesterday, I did the in-person class where I taught multi-strand rug braiding. Multi-strand is not traditional braiding. It is you start with four strands, right? You start with two folded strands, which makes four, and you can go up to many. Some people in class went up to 10, 12. I don't think there were any 14s yesterday, but I want to show you people working on them. Multi-strand is an early 20th century form, and we could talk more about this, and I have done classes on this, but not in the last few years. And you know, I was so dreading putting this class together. I was up so late. That's why I couldn't do the show on Friday. I was still making kits at 12:30. I was so done. And I thought, why did I do this? Why did I do that? I couldn't find anything. I couldn't find any of my prototypes, so I had been working on making a new rug just to be able to show it. I couldn't find any of my first book, right, that was published by Fox Chapel, because there's pictures of it in there. I couldn't find a single copy of that. My husband looked for about 6 hours. I mean, it was a joke. It was just a joke. I was in an awful mood, but I got to the class, and you know what? The class went so well. Let me show you the buddies at the class. A couple people were sick, and I left kits. They had COVID. Um, so it was a good thing that they knew, right? Because otherwise they would have made me sick. All of us sick, too, not just me. So these were, I guess, eight people were there in person. Uh, um, and you can see, I'll blow up our rugs. This was at Madison Wool in Madison, Connecticut. Super fun. You can see that, and this was partway through the class, even though nobody had done this before, I think 4 of the 8 people here knit. A couple of them were very, very good, and a couple of them were beginners. And the girl in the pink tank top with the black underneath at like noon, 1 o'clock, we kind of went. I don't usually go around the table, but we did go around the table because my brain just isn't working right now. I'm too scattered. Her story was interesting because I asked her, because she's young, and I said, what makes you interested in learning how to braid a rug? And she said, her husband's grandmother just died and left them this beautiful big farmhouse, and it's filled with braided rugs that her husband's grandmother made. And she said she wanted to make some to add to the floors, so that you know, she could add to the you know, legacy and the look of the house. And she was excellent. And she'd never done anything. She wasn't a knitter. She wasn't a crafter. But you can see everybody, and I'll make the table a little bit bigger. Everybody did a great job. Nobody had a big S show. Like it just wasn't. It was one of these things. You know, you just keep it steady. Everybody's rugs were coming out looking amazing. These are the ruglets. We had a one girl on the right. You see the girl with the End All Wars shirt? Those two rugs in front of her, she made two. She was making two at the same time. She is excellent. She makes her own yarn. So I might collaborate with her, come up with a project that uses just her yarn, do like a ribbon candy hooking tie-in with her branch just for fun. But you can see everybody got quite far with making their ruglet, and everybody's was different. We're using these strips that I pre-cut, and they're synthetic. It's 100% synthetic, like recycled garment material. And I put about 50 yards in each bag, and every strip was about an inch and a half. Not precise, right? This is a rag rug form. And this is a rag rug form that was kind of invisible and went defunct for the best part of the 20th century. And then toward the end of the 20th century, like, you know, toward the 80s and 90s, and all of the great decorating and country life type magazines that were popular at that time started to, a lot of craft magazines at that time, right? Think about, again, 1974. How many craft magazines were out there? And do you remember in those days, people were just more capable in general? I don't know what it was. You would look at a project like a rug, and in the back, it would be like, you know, this much of a paragraph would tell you how to make the dang rug from beginning to end. And it's like, and people must have been able to figure out how to do it because they kept printing these magazines and selling them. But during that time, these kinds of rugs, and hooked rugs, and shirred rugs, and caterpillars and button rugs, and all of those kinds of rugs, pom-pom rugs, all of that came back in style, and people started to print directions for them. But the directions are not reliable, and they're very different from one person to the next. To make a long story short, Too Late, remember the movie Clue? I had to go, when I was writing the first book, I went through all of the references I could find to this form of rug, the multi-strand. And I tried all of the different ways, and I rewrote it, and then I revised my own instructions many times. So the instructions that I give now, I feel are the best ones, the most foolproof. Even if you have never handled a piece of fiber before, you're not a crocheter, you're not a knitter, nothing, right? So in teaching it, I feel like we all did really well, and it made me think I really want to teach this online. Because also, since a few years ago, my cameras and all my stuff is better too. Would you like to come in and say hi? Come on. Watch your mouth. Watch your mouth, lady. Joss, watch your mouth, right? I'm always going to be nervous now. Not funny. Little one's coming. Little one's coming. I showed this. Do you have any remarks to make about this incredible piece of folk art?
It's cool.
It is cool. It is cool. What was your fourth? Firth. Oh, that's a different show. I haven't finished that show either. Joss. Okay, this is not a camera. There's live people here. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, you can't move the thing. Sue says hi.
Hi.
Oh, you so sweet. Don't knock stuff down. It's very tight back here. It's not just her. It's very tight. What was your inspiration for wanting to create an eel nubbin?
My persona.
Your what? Fursona?
Persona.
Okay, your fursona is like a fur costume persona? I think it is, Joss.
No.
I think it is. Because the word is persona, and if you're saying fursona, I think they mean like your persona in fur. What else?
That's not exactly what it is.
Okay. All right.
Teddy.
And Suze loves your eel tail. Okay, go. I have a cup of coffee right here. I got a cup of coffee. Gail says hi to you too, and she says you're so clever. You want to take it?
Yeah.
You both can't fit here. You got to go, and he's going to come say hi. All right.
Ah, your time's over, buddy.
I mean, it's only going to be so long that they come and visit us during these shows, right? And then,
I'm gonna have a
come
job.
here, buddy. You going to get a job, Ted? Really?
No, probably not. I live in your basement.
Honey,
Hello.
Veronica says hi too, Joss.
Is it
Oh,
cool
wait a
like
minute.
that?
No, let me do it. Let me do
Alright,
it.
I got
Oh, there he is. Look
Hey.
how much taller he is than me.
Oh.
Well,
Oh,
let me get my
oh,
cup of
geez.
coffee.
Hello.
Oh, Sue says hi to you too. How was your
Hello.
day, Ted? Did
It
you
was
enjoy
good.
the Renaissance Fair?
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Really?
Yeah, I was with Gus.
Yeah, you had
Right
fun
there.
with your friend Gus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's gonna be on the weekend.
What's that?
4th and 5th.
What's on the 4th and 5th?
He's gonna come.
Oh, is he gonna come stay
for
over?
the sleepover.
Oh, that's
Sleepover.
great. That's great.
That's how I said a few days ago.
Oh, that's great. He should come for a sleepover.
Yeah.
Oh, your buddies are
thank you,
saying hi.
guys.
Look at this nice shirt. You've got his nice. It's got his nice silky shirt on.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
one.
this is one of your Amazon things. It was like $20. It's so nice and silky.
I liked it a lot.
Oh, look at all your friends saying hi to you.
Hello. Should I wear this to school tomorrow?
Well, it depends on if the armpits smell. So let's
you're
smell
right.
the armpits, and then we'll make a decision.
Are you gonna smell my?
No, I'm not going to smell your armpits. I'm going to smell the armpits on the shirt. But you have about 40 other Hawaiian shirts in the closet, so I feel like we got choices, right?
Yeah.
All right, off they go. Off they go. He is so big. He is so big. He's very close to 6 feet, if he's not 6 feet right now. I love that they love to come and visit, though. Well, my little boy's there, too. Buttons, he'll probably visit us later. So, in any case, I think I will... Oops, they screwed this up. I think I will put together a class that's online, because as I was saying... I do have better stuff now, better cameras, better everything, better technology. This platform has been upgraded. I know it, right? Yeah, so we could do this in person, and just like a cooking show or something like that would be very easy for me to show you close-ups of my hands. So be looking out for that, because I will put up a class that is a multi-strand braided rug. And during the class, I will tell you, and it will come with the kit, right? So I put bags together of like, again, 50 yards about, and you can, I mean, you can do this, if you know how to do it yourself. My recipe is about, for a welcome mat sized rug, it's about 50 yards, about 1 inch to 1.5 inches thick. Maybe a little bit more depending on how tight you weave. Even though it's a braided rug, it's really not braiding, it's hand weaving. There's no actual braiding happening at all during this rug, so misleading, because it looks like a braided rug, but it is absolutely not. So I gave everybody at the class a couple of bags, and it turned out to be way too much. Nobody even opened the second bag. So so they kept them and all that. So I'll decide, maybe I'll give the same amount, and you'll just have extra to make it grow later. Maybe I'll do that. But I am going to put one up there, and the kits will be random colors. I can't do them all the same color, because I have hundreds of colors of these strips, you know. And I have to cut them with a rotary cutter and everything, and I run out of colors. But the one thing for sure is that it'll be like a potpourri, and everybody will get a kit with lots of different colors, and they'll be pretty colors, because I never send out kits. I mean, pretty is, you know, my opinion is maybe different than yours, but I never send out ones that I think are like ugly, or that they don't have sort of color harmony happening. So be looking out for that if you're interested in making a different form of a historic rug that we never talk about anymore. Speaking of which, coming back here, so that was the group yesterday, and that went remarkably well considering how stressed I was the night before. So, and then later that night with that fantastic email volley, right? So this rug we have seen before. And I'll tell you what, the first time I saw this rug, I'm going to read you the caption for it. The first time I saw this rug, I saw it in an antique store in Quechee, Vermont. And I thought, oh, look at that. And it was expensive. So buying it, you know, was not an option for me. But it did make me think, ooh, now I really want that rug. I'm going to obsess about that rug because it's so pretty. It's so different. I need that in my life. And then shortly after, I was shopping somewhere else, and I saw it again. Not the same rug. So that said to me, obviously, this is a commercial pattern. So interesting, right? It is a commercial pattern. The attribution in this book, right? Because how can they know this might be the first instance of this rug? We don't know. But we know that somebody made it later. If it indeed is a 19th century rug, it would be out of copyright, and all of us can make it. We can all make it. Nobody owns it. No rug hooking company, including mine, owns any image that is pre-copyright, which is now 1930. So stuff that is before 1930 in the U.S., right, unless it has a sort of continuum copyright going on, like Disney owns it, or they own the character, or they bought something like, The Wizard of Oz, or, Alice in Wonderland. There are exceptions, but most folk art is not owned by someone else. You can search, you can check with me, but my point is that when rug hooking companies see these older rugs, including me, we often say, I love that. I want to hook it. I'm going to do the pattern, and I might as well sell the pattern while I'm at it. And they do. But don't let anybody tell you that 19th century postcards or early 20th century postcards or antique rug patterns that are 1930 or prior are under copyright because they are making a pattern of them. There is no such thing as that. That is not how copyright works. And there is no such thing as the kind of gentleman's agreement where someone gets to it first, they do it, and you can no longer do it. Life does not work like that, just so you know. In other words, this is obviously an older pattern, and if it is indeed 19th century, as Joel and Kate Kopp say it is in this book, then it's up for grabs. It is referred to as cat and mouse, hooked rag on burlap. So they're not saying hooked rug, she's still saying hooked rag on burlap. 28 by 44, right, if you want to make it the original size, fourth quarter of the 19th century. So they are guessing 1875 to 1900. Honestly, I would say I think it's probably early 1900s, personally. I would say it might even be like 1920s, like really, even 1930s. But, I mean, this is the attribution. I don't know. All we know about it, it was lent by Gary C. Cole. That's it. So, now there were commercial patterns in the 19th century because we know Garrett Bluenose was there. We know Edward Sands Frost was there. There was a lot of people who were to market in the 19th century with commercial patterns. Since we know that's true, we can get ourselves into a situation where we're looking at a pattern that is from a company or a company line that has been bought by another company, for example, Cushing, right? And they're still making it, right? And it's not out of copyright. So with commercial patterns, you do have to be careful because they get bought up by companies bigger than me that can afford to buy whole catalogs of famous lines, right? So I'm not even gonna go any further with that because that also drives me crazy, to be honest. So cat and mouse. I know it's a commercial pattern because I've seen it. I have now seen it multiple times, and it always looks the same. Who made the original pattern? God knows, right? Because it's hooked. How would we know? How will we ever know who made the first one of these? It could have been up in Canada at Garrett Bluenose, but it could have been right over the border with Edward Sands Frost, right? It could have been. But we don't know, and we won't know unless somebody finds a catalog or an early catalog who shows it first, or somebody finds an occurrence of the pattern on burlap that has not been hooked, and particularly if it has a year, right? That would do it. That would do it. Can't really age it without a year because we're talking about the difference of a year or two. Now we do know that the early sort of commercial patterns done by people who I just mentioned and a bunch of other characters. These are all past shows that we've done. They were very friendly amongst each other. It's nothing like it is now. Nothing like it is now. In those days, if you saw a pattern, let's say cat and mouse, and Frost was doing it, Frost and Garrett, they crossed over, their companies crossed over all the time, saw each other's patterns. It'd be like, oh, I like that. I'm going to do that for the American market. It'd be like, great, I've done some of yours. You could just copy people's work in those days, right? People were creating patents and stuff, but not for rug hooking patterns, right? That was not intellectual property. That was not done. So they were copying a lot of each other's patterns. Or, oh, I saw this in the department store. My wife liked it. Our company's going to make it too now, right? That happened a lot. So it is very hard to know, well, who was the designer on that? And you know what? It didn't work like that. We know that Frost did a lot of his own designing. We know that there were specific Garretts within the family through the generations of ownership, right, who did like to design and others who didn't, right? So this is the same for every company story. Sometimes like just the husband likes to design or the wife, or they switch, like Gagetown, right? And sometimes it's like, nope, we have someone else who draws them. I just choose the colors and he makes them, right? So it's different from company to company to company. But as with advertising and a lot of things in the 20th century, the early 20th century, it didn't matter who made them. You know what mattered? If you got paid, right? If you make the design and you sell it and you make the money, thank you very much. That's what mattered. Now we're much more moving on in the 20th century. We're much more vigilant about attributing stuff. But back then they were absolutely not. It was like, hey, if you like it, help yourself for the most part. But we know that early rug hooking brands did work like that, and hence all this confusion, right? So let's see. Let's go on to our next image. I love seeing this because I can't tell you how excited I was when I first saw it and thinking it was a one of a kind. And at the same time, I can't tell you how relieved I was when I saw it again, because the only thing that stopped me from buying it was not having enough money and being sad about it and obsessing about it, you know. And then when I realized that it wasn't a one of a kind, I still loved it, but it was like, okay, well, now I'm at peace with it. You know, I mean, I might find one down the road if I still want it, but I just kind of wanted it less, knowing that there's like infinity out there. So they were both good days. So you probably recognize this style, right? This comes into play in the catalog. Let's see how it's attributed, though. That is going to be the question. What in 1974? What were we calling this rug? Right? You and I know that it's a Grenfell rug for sure, without a doubt. You can even see the very fine, small sort of pantyhose hooking that's going on here. And you know what? I think it's a Grenfell rug. I don't think it is a Shedicomp rug. I might be wrong. Here's the attribution. Polar bear, hooked yarn on burlap, 10 by 12. First quarter of the 20th century. Lent by Barbara Traub. I don't know. I mean, this is the black and white photo, and I stretched it huge from the auction catalog. It's like a postage stamp size. I think it's a Grenfell, and I don't think it's yarn. It's burlap, but I don't think it's yarn. I think it's pantyhose. So this just goes to show, at this point, he is so cute, Diane, isn't he? At this point, yeah, we don't have the attributions in place. Isn't that strange? Because I mean, already a lot of people know what Shedicamps look like and what Grenfells look like, but not universally, and cannot be attributed. So you can't say it if you can't attribute it. And I think that's interesting in and of itself. There's rugs like this in here. You know, I always love a rug with a motif. A motif in the literal sense, a motto. I'm sorry, not a motif, a motto. In the literal sense, is something like this. A motto was a Victorian phrase that was usually religious, that was done in some kind of needlecraft and hung up in the wall, right? So women during the Victorian period loved to demonstrate that they had leisure time, and you know that was luxury. Leisure time was luxury. Your husband made enough money that you were not grinding up food for dinner and slaughtering animals. You were fooling around doing crafts with a needle. So that was a status symbol of sorts. Sorry, I'm frantically searching for this image in the book. I know it's here because I photographed it. Hold on, let's see. In any case, mottos were very popular, although the Victorian period, at least in Britain, and they were the sort of the ones who set the tone in the U.S. too, was not a particularly religious period in practice. Very low church attendance. They were at home very religious. It wasn't a put your money where your mouth is kind of a culture. It was like a look at my motto. I made that, right? Isn't that nice? God is love. So funny period in history with sort of these kinds of disconnects, but having mottos with expressions like this at that time was super important. Now we see infinite mottos done in cross stitch and needlework, but you don't often see mottos done as hooked rugs. Now it probably was used for the floor as well, but I can guarantee the person who made this was a Victorian, and this is a hit or miss rug, right? This is a homemade pattern. Um, Spacing is a little bit off, right? They probably wish that they started the G a little bit further back. It's attributed this way: God is love, hooked rag on burlap, 28 and a quarter by 50 and a quarter, first quarter of the 20th century, lent by a private collector. So interesting, right? Um, I'm curious because there's another attribution. Oh, I can't. I'll never find it. Never mind. But I like this. I like this. It's an early. Most mottos say things that are a bit more specific. Hands to work, hearts to God, or home is where the heart is. But that more religious. God is love is one that we still use to this day. It's way more has way more of a sort of modern feel to it. It's funny. This is an old rug, and somebody went with God is love. Um, it's interesting because it makes me think, what sort of denomination were they that they would do something this kind of at that time a little bit new agey, right? Because who is anyone to say what God is, right? In the really uptight um, religions, most people in the early 20th century would not dare to say that God is this or God is that or God is anything. They wait for the priest to tell them what God is. But this rug, God is love, is really kind of going out on a limb, just in terms of the literal text. It's kind of going out on a limb. It makes me wonder who made it, what kind of community they lived in, right? Because it's a bit daring. Interesting rug, nice old rug. And this one as well is a real curious one to me because it's a house rug. I'm guessing it's the person's house. This cannot be a commercial pattern because honestly, it's just not good enough. But it is an extraordinary example of a hit or miss rug. Now, I believe it's the person, it looks like a farmhouse, right? It looks like a late 19th century farmhouse. And the layout maybe is a thing. To me, I love it, but I get the impression that they drew it and it was maybe bigger than they thought it ended up. Maybe they started, no, they wouldn't have drawn it and transferred it, right? They'd be drawing it probably with charcoal, piece of charcoal from the fireplace. They wouldn't be like experimenting with it. It's like, this is fast work that's happening. This is in your free time. And since you have no free time, you want to get this done fast. Draw it fast, start working it fast, because in a few minutes you're going to have to be going to bed, or you're going to have to put the candles out. You're going to wake up at the crack of dawn, and you're only going to get a few minutes tomorrow night and the night after, and on and on. So there was a commitment at an early stage of this rug to making it large. And it might be that the person started drawing it and then was like, ooh, the second floor, because the second floor is very small. I'm thinking the second floor is as large as the first floor, but they had to kind of compress it because of space. And then the roof, right? Boom, there's like a dormer in the roof. So somehow they did manage to get this big, blocky farmhouse on there. It is super charming, very simple and geometric, and a couple of trees, right? So we know that it has a wooded yard, right? There's probably a lot of trees, but just a couple of trees for decoration. And then the person seems to have said to herself, what now, right? Like, I've got the house done, got a couple of trees, what now? And probably thought to other rugs that she had seen, hit or miss, checkerboard, striping, right? And she probably didn't have a ton of any one color. That's kind of clear from the way that the roof is hooked and the background behind the flowers. It's really patchy. And some of it may be fading, but I bet a lot of it is just not really sure, right? She knew what to do with the house. After the house, it's kind of like, yikes, what are we doing now, right? And literally, and again, women were hooking at night by candlelight, right? In the 19th century, that's what was going on, candlelight. So I'm thinking of the other day when I took a painting class at the grist mill with my friend Sherry, and we had such poor lighting. It was overhead lighting, but not over our table. It was like over 2 tables away. And trying to paint when there was no light, I was looking at my paint palette and I couldn't tell the difference between the yellow and the white. And I couldn't really tell the difference between the blue and the green. And when I shined my phone light onto my painting, I was surprised a few times because I had my colors all wrong. Now, same thing, if you were hooking something by candlelight at the end of the day, finally, you know, you've got some time for you. God knows how much time, but you've got a little time for you. You've got the rag bag next to you on the chair. Your hand goes into the rag bag. You pull out something. It's dark. Okay, you're going to use it. Is it purple? Is it black? Is it navy? Is it brown? Is it gray? I don't know, right? And it's just the way that it was done. There's no way around it. And again, time is a thing, so you'd want to kind of keep going. This person was trying to do something that had a very light dark effect, very cool effect. I'm guessing that she did the background behind the house, probably in like light blue, dark blue, was trying to do a kind of cool effect with the sky, and then thought, I don't have any more for the sky, and thought I better solve the problem by putting on a border and putting a bunch of different colors in. That makes the most sense, right? So I'm guessing she then put in the border, and it is pretty even, which is really nice, and then just did what everybody knew how to do, just alternating blocks with striping. She did 4 like corner pieces, like cornerstones that are solid, and we don't know the colors for this. And then she did everything else hit or miss, and that's great problem solving. It shows confidence, um, and common sense, right? So the attribution for this says house with winter trees, hooked rag on burlap, 16 by 24 and a half, fourth quarter of the 19th century, lent by Paul and Judy Lennett. Very nice, very different, and weirdly, I wouldn't call it modern, but I would say, looking at the way that this is done, you can easily picture whatever style of house you've got, right? The house that we just moved into is a 1960 house. It's it's a wacky house. I mean, it doesn't really fit any style. I guess it's a ranch. Um, Maybe it's even kind of a raised ranch. It's a very 1960 house. Didn't think I liked this kind of house. Turns out I love it. Even with my crazy house, I could see doing something in this style, right? Like I could see swapping out my house for a Victorian farmhouse. I could also see swapping it out for a salt box or a log cabin or really a Victorian, any style of house, and doing this kind of fill in the background. I think it is really charming. I think it is clever, and I think it has all of the tropes of that period, right? The late Victorian period. This is an interesting one as well. And let me see. Let me find this one. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. I feel like I skipped one that I like also. I might have to show you that one too. So, okay. So the attributions are all over the place. For example, this is like at the end of the book, but it's number 13. So it makes you kind of flip all over the place um, to figure out which rug goes with which text. So this is a large piece at 37 by 42. If you're wondering if this is a James and Mercedes Hutchinson piece, I don't think so. I don't think so. Because it doesn't fit any, other than the movement of some of the people. It doesn't have their signature text and their signature the simple storytelling, the simple joke, right? The simple sort of sarcastic joke that is the subject of all of their rugs. But it is not attributed. This piece is called Around the Christmas Tree, hooked rag on burlap, 37 by 42, first decade of the 20th century. And it was being lent from the Shelburne Museum in Shelburne, Vermont. So they do have Hutchinsons there. I don't know. It could be like an early Hutchinson. I don't know. I don't remember this from the Hutchinson book. Does anybody recognize this piece? And again, it's not in color. The catalog is not in color. I have a feeling I would be able to, you know what, let me see if I can find this piece with Google Lens right now. We've done this before. Let's see if that might happen. Hang on. Camera, let's do it. Let's see if it comes up for us. And I'm going over to Google Lens. You probably have it on your phone too. It's on every phone. Here we are. Let's see what we got. No. How strange is that? I'm going to alter hold on, I'm going to alter the view. It thought it was a road map. Weird. Okay, hang on. It's showing me the image displays a detailed tapestry or rug, AI, featuring a lively, intricate scene with numerous figures and elements, including a large snowman-like figure and a Christmas tree. AI is bonkers, isn't it? So it's not showing me that specific rug. I was hoping it would show me it in color. It's showing me a lot of early 20th century wallpaper and fabric design by John Held, who was a famous textile designer from that period. That's interesting. But no, let me do a visual match. Nope. And they're showing me wallpaper that has sort of a Eastern, like Asian flavor to it. They're even showing me some Escher. Interesting. So that didn't work. I'd like to learn more about this one. You know, it is possible to write to, does anybody want to write to the Folk Art Museum and say, hey, do you still have around the Christmas tree? Because this is small enough. You know what we could do? Oh my God, you know what we could do? Because you know they will show you stuff if you request it. Should we plan like a field trip to Manhattan and write in advance and say, could we look at, I mean, we don't want to sort of take the piss and say like, can you show us 50 rugs? But we could say, could you show us like 5 rugs? Do you think we should try that? That could be a really fun outing for us. I know I always go to Manhattan in December for Teddy's birthday. That's his birthday present. But I suppose if we wanted to do this and some of us thought we might go in, we could go meet in the city and maybe in November? Let me know if you think that's a thing, even if you're watching this later. That could be a fun idea because they will show you stuff if you request it. They won't show us the Caswell carpet because it's just too big and they have to hire too many people to hold it. But this piece, being 37 by 42, now, you know what I think? I want to show you another piece that I think is by the same artist. Hang on. Interesting. How's my buttons? No, I don't want to go there yet. No, let's not go there yet. Let me come back to you here. Got to remember we're on number 35. I skipped over one that I want to show you too. I'm second guessing myself now. I want to show you this. Hold on. Yeah, I got to show you this because we were just talking about the Hutchinsons, and you might know about the Hutchinsons, right? Because we've had lots of shows about them. So, for example, this one is in here, and the attribute, I'm going to show it to you in a second. The attribution says, "May your happiness last forever." That's the name of the rug. Hooked rag on burlap, 35 by 71, first decade of the 20th century. No attribution. That's this rug here. Sorry. That's a Hutchinson, right? We absolutely know that that's a Hutchinson rug. So this could have been done in the 1920s, right, when they opened their business in New York City. Hold on. It's going to come into focus if it's the last thing we do. Hopefully it's not the last thing we do. Speaking of which, it was not the last thing, but my mom was walking the dog the night that I was putting the kits together. And the dog didn't do anything, but she fell and smashed her face. And she's okay. Nothing was like bleeding, but she said she looks like a prize fighter. She has got the worst black eye I've ever seen. She fell right on her face, right on her eye, not on her nose. She is absolutely okay, but it was scary. And I said, I don't think you look like a prize fighter. You look like a mutant raccoon or something. I mean, this is crazy. Poor little mom. So this is a Hutchinson. This is absolutely a Hutchinson. Ruth, good to see you. Ruth, you know, I'm so ashamed of myself that I have not subscribed to your page. I'm going to do that as soon as I'm to your YouTube channel. I'm going to do that as soon as I finish the show. Every time I click on it, I'm on my phone. Shame on me. And it wants me to log in, and I like never know my password. As soon as we log off, I'm going to log on my computer so I can subscribe because you do such a great job. It's good to see you. May your happiness last forever. This is a Hutchinson rug for sure, right? And the Hutchinsons, again, they were based in Brooklyn. So this is classic Hutchinson. But my question is the one we just looked at around the Christmas tree, and is this also Hutchinson? Because this is more like around the Christmas tree, love plays a tune. This is a lot like around the Christmas tree, but I would say I think this is a Hutchinson. Don't you think? And I think if this is a Hutchinson, this is the bridge, I mean, in terms of the way the characters look, the love is the Cupid, right? He's being symbolized as the Cupid figure playing a tune on the flute. Um, I think this is the sort of Rosetta Stone because it's not the same kind of text that the Hutchinsons do later, but it is the same kind of figures that we just saw in. Wait a minute. Around the Christmas tree. I take it back. I think this is a Hutchinson rug. Based on that, right? That was the bridge. That was the link for me. Interesting. I so want to get in touch with the Folk Art Museum. I think it'd be great to have a fun day out together. I think that would be a great idea. You know what else I'm working on? Just as an FYI, I'm just going to get the next slide queued up, and I'll look for it. Another thing I'll be working on, and Barbara Cornish has been encouraging me to do this, and I think I will do this. We're having, of course, our Halloween party on Friday, October 24th in Lenox, Massachusetts. Please come if you are near. We're having a rug show. Vendors there, including me. I'm putting some very cool things in that I don't have in the shop and that are unusual things. I'm putting swag bags together. There will be nice food. It is on the front page of the Ribbon Candy Hooking website, but also email me at ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com if you'd like to come, because I would love for you to be there. But Barbara said, why don't you do like a full blast workshop, like a retreat at like a monastery or something where 3 meals are included every day, and just head down for 3 or 4 days working on a project or projects plural. And I think I will. And I have been at night doing a little research on the phone, finding some places that I think would be cool places to do that, that'd be possible to get to. And I'd have to cap it at like 20 people. But it could be a lot of fun, maybe working on 3 related patterns or something. Like I'll come up with something. But it could be a lot of fun. It could be a great opportunity to work on technique together, to work on using different materials, to work on improvisation and design, and to also just spend time together and celebrate our respective techniques, right? I'm not technique heavy. Unless you want to learn something specific, then I will bust it out. But I am way more into elevating and furthering people's personal style. To me, that's more precious than getting you to do what I do. But anyway, that's going to be coming up in the spring, so I'm working on that right now too. I think we should think about going to the Folk Art Museum in the meantime. So this is a funny looking little horse. He is just called Red Work Horse. So I'm guessing he's done red work, right? I'm guessing red work is a style of embroidery, usually cross stitch, that is red on white. I'm guessing that he's on like a neutral and he's just done in reds. Background looks black to me, but there's no color referencing here, so I don't know. We know it's a hooked rag instead of hooked rug on burlap, 21 by 31. You know what? Fourth quarter of the 19th century. Do you know what? I can't believe this. I think had the greatest breakthrough of my life. I honestly think that the term hooked rag is better than the term hooked rug. Why did we stop? Well, you know why? Because people were making rugs for the floor. But I really like hooked rag because it doesn't refer to how you're going to use your piece. It refers to how you made your piece, right? And that's what makes rug hooking so special and is such a unicorn among crafts. People don't know about it. It's one of our sort of, as it says here, indigenous crafts, and people still think that we're using crochet hooks or latch hooks to do it. Sometimes we are using crochet hooks, to be fair, or they think we're weaving them on a loom, right? They think they're woven or knotted or something, but not hooked. Hooked rag, to me, makes so much more sense than hooked rug, because if it's small, maybe it's a welcome mat, but it's probably for the wall. Hooked rag. I really need to think about that. It might be that there's a future book on the horizon that's called Hooked Rag. I would love to start shifting our language and get away from the word rug, because I think one of the reasons we don't have a lot of people hooking rugs with us is because of the word rug. It sounds overwhelming. I don't want to hook a rug. I want to fool around and do pieces that are 18 inches tall, right? That's what I want to do. Interesting. Something to think about. I'm going to write that in my diary tonight so I don't forget. So, your red workhorse. Now, this is not a commercial pattern because he is really bad. But you know what he looks like to me? It's like, I don't know, a piece of Staffordshire or something like that. He looks like he could be a little statue. Ruth, you said you got the weaving description too. Interesting, isn't it? Isn't it fun? I love to think of you there doing Google Lens to your screen, same as me doing Google Lens. We have all these great tools now. It's such a lot of fun. Here. Oh, thanks, Ruth. You have your new issue of Magpie. It is. You know what? I have some in the other room. I should have showed. I should have showed you. Oh my God. Here, let me just shout in the other room. Tell them to bring me one. I have a few in stock, maybe 3 or 5. Can somebody? I'm just gonna get it. Hold on. I'm coming back. Sorry, I'm coming back. I went and got it myself because nobody in this house has ears except me. I'm the only one who can hear stuff. Okay, so yeah, the magpies came. They have all shipped. The cover looks like this. We should cover it, right? Barn quilts was the theme this time. Rebecca, my buddy Rebecca White Martin of Storyteller Wool, punched the cover, and this is a feature in there too, making this sort of little dollhouse thing. But barn quilts is the subject. So we're talking about quilt patterns, lots of different techniques, historic rugs, free patterns in there, quilting. Oh, there's a big feature on quilting with my friend Jeannie Crowley. Quilting because barn quilts, right? That connection there. So a bunch of fun features. Mola's log cabins. I did a promotion for the Haunted Rug book. That's a couple of pages in there. Really cool. We'll look at it in its entirety later. But I have a few copies in my hand, and I don't think I've signed. I usually sign them on the first page. Not. It doesn't go through. The ink doesn't go through. But this is the new issue. But you know what? That reminds me. I really need content for the winter issue. So, what can you contribute to the winter issue, everybody? You got some stuff for the gallery? Who's got a feature for me? Who's got something on rug hooking, on knitting, on macrame? Thanks, Veronica. I love that cover. I was so happy that Rebecca wanted to do that. And the next cover is a ribbon candy hooking design, but Mandy Cornish hooked it. And it's right there, but I can't show it to you yet. I'll show it to you soon, but not quite yet because I want to really celebrate this, but I'm dying to show you. It's called Selective Hearing. You're right, Gail. That's exact. My dad had it. I would say something naughty. I would say men tend to have it more than women, the selective hearing. Just saying. I mean, from the survey I've taken, which is vast, it seems to be a male affliction. I'm sure that's not true, but anyway. All right, so let's come back over here. Red Workhorse. I do think that somebody put a little statue in front of them and drew it. And it came out looking like this because no matter what period in history we're talking about, nobody, I think, would make a pattern in earnest that made a horse look like this. It does look more like a statue than a real horse. It is super elongated, but there is a serious emphasis on like the bridle and what the horse is wearing, right? And that's interesting too because it makes you question what the reference was. Most horses are like little nudie bears, right? They're just running around with no harness, like nothing on them, just naked, right? The naked little horses, and no blanket or anything. And this horse is wearing a lot of dressing and dressage. Is it called dressage? And I wonder why. But it does give us a clue to the reference. Is it a statue? Or maybe they were looking at a print of a horse, or maybe it was somebody who owned a horse, or they used a horse for transportation and they would kit the horse out like this. There has to be a reason why somebody who is clearly, I mean, this is very charming, but this person is not an artist, right? This is a great example of folk art, but this person is not an artist. There has got to be a reason why this person took the time to lay out all of those details. It has to be a reference that they were looking at where they thought, yeah, I think the shape is something like this, But then let's not forget this, this, and this. Harness racing statue, possibly. Interesting. Any word on the book you're doing that has to do with alternative materials? I've been trying to gather information. Thank you for asking while you're doing a t-shirt piece. So that book is called Laundry Line Hooking. It is an ongoing book. I think maybe 4 or 5 people have sent me chapters for that book with their own patterns. And it doesn't have to be a pattern book, this one. The one thing that I want for this laundry line book is for the piece to be made entirely from cut up clothing, whether it's pantyhose or clothing or jeans or whatever, but stuff you would hang on the laundry line. So that book is moving forward. I was kind of waiting. I know there's a few other people who are working on pieces and designing pieces. In my mind, the Rose book is going to come out right before Christmas for the holidays. But that book, as soon as I feel I have enough chapters for that book, I'll put that book together and that book will come out too. I think it's realistic to think of that coming out maybe in like February, March, like that kind of thing. But I need more chapters. So thanks for bringing that up. If anybody is working on a pattern, and you are completely using recycled clothing for it, please think about putting that piece and a chapter that shows the materials that you've used, takes pictures as you go along, a little bit of text saying maybe doesn't have to be this, right? So this is not a template, but like, oh, this was my pair of jeans. I'm going to do it for me, right? For me, like, oh, this was my pair of jeans before I blew up like the Goodyear blimp, right? God knows menopause, God knows why. And I used to fit into these jeans, for the first 3/4 of my life, but I don't have a hope, snowballs and you know what, of fitting into them now. So here they are. I hooked them into the grass, and here's my maternity top. Sure ain't gonna get pregnant again. Here's my maternity top, and I worked that into, and good memories mostly. Stuff like, any kind of text that you want to give me that would make a chapter that's about you. And if you think, oh, I would love to do this, I would love to do this book, and I would love to make something, and I always hook with recycled clothing, but I'm not a good designer and I'm not comfortable, shoot me an email at ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com. I will make you a design that you can hook, and I will send it to you on backing. If what is stopping you from participating in this book project is you don't have a design in your head, send me a message and we can talk about what kind of design you would like to have, maybe based on the materials you're using, and I'll send you some sketches and then I'll send you the design, right? So that's something to think about too. Don't forget about Magpie, because Magpie keeps coming like ocean waves, right? We got to keep up with Magpie. But as like an overarching project that's not such a rush, be thinking about that too. Thank you, Ruth. I appreciate you bringing that up. Oh, Diane, you sent some things to me in email. So Hambletonian was the most famous harness racing. Ooh, Hambletonian was the most famous harness racing horse historically. Interesting. I did not know that. Okay, so I have to ask, harness racing. Okay, so regular racing is when the rider is on the horse. Is that harness racing? Or does harness racing have to be when there's a cart behind the horse? Does anybody know? I'm just curious. Let's see. Ruth says, I hooked the Jacob's coat rose design all with t-shirts. I've had lots of compliments on it. It's hanging on your wall right now. I love that piece. I love that piece. So I'll be putting that book together. I'm putting it together now, but I'll be putting it together more in a couple of weeks when it's a little bit quieter. And I'll just be working on that exclusively. And I will be doing a show at my church in January. It will be a full month. Actually, I think it's 2 months, where I'm going to hang a bunch of the Rose book rugs. I'm going to hang a bunch of mine, and I will shout out anyone who wants me to put their work in that exhibit. I will do it. I will put your work in that exhibit, and you can have it for sale or not have it for sale. And I will certainly do at least one video going around looking at everybody's work. That'll happen January, February. So right at the beginning of January, I will be putting up the Rose book pieces. And if you are somebody who hooked them, if you want it to be in that exhibit, it can be, right? I'll give the shout out for that without a doubt. No, you're fine. I always get it in the end. I'm used to texting and filling in the gaps, playing Mad Libs, right? It's just the way life is right now, but I got it. All right, so funny, this harness racing conversation. So while this horse is not the epitome of style, it definitely has some folk art charm. And it did kick up this question for us about um, why? Why the bad horse, but the great detail on the harness? It was invented in Indiana as a sport, I believe. They have a museum there. Okay, I guess I don't know harness racing. I've been to Saratoga Springs, and I know that's kart racing. I have not been to a horse race. I have to admit, I've been to dog races when I was younger. It's pretty popular still in the UK. I don't know that I would want to go now. I don't think that I would. But cart behind the horse. My family were harness. Okay, cart behind the horse. Gail says my family were harness racing breeders. Oh my God! See, they still do this at Saratoga Springs, and I gotta say I'm curious because not to be what's the word? Not to be ghoulish. Not to be ghoulish. But it just seems so dangerous to be riding in a cart at that speed. I mean, I'm guessing there are not accidents all over the place, and obviously there wouldn't be funny if there were. But I gotta say, for someone who often laughs at slapstick things, I see so many possibilities with a horse running at that speed and a cart behind it on wheels. Oh my God. I am out of my depth when I'm like being pulled up by a rope tow on skis. I can't imagine being on wheels behind a running horse with other horses like challenging, from the sides. Oh my God. Cart behind the horse. Okay, that's kind of what I was picturing because I'm thinking the apparatus has got to be different to hold that cart with a person in it, right? Oh my gosh. I think they still do in Saratoga Springs. Interesting. Anyway, I'll look all that up later. Sorry, my brain is going crazy now. You know what else they have in Saratoga Springs? Incredible antique stores. And I haven't been lately, and I'm dying to go because they always have rugs up there. They do. Um, Diane says, "Too cool, Gail. I'm an equestrian sport enthusiast." All right, here I am. I'm out of the conversation. You know why? Because I'm the only person in my family who is not a horse rider. My mother was a great horse rider. My older sister was a show rider. My younger sister is a show rider. Jocelyn has been riding since she was 5, and I am the only one who is not. I am not a horse person at all. They scare the bejesus out of me unless they're in their stalls, and then they still scare me because you go to pet them and they're giant teeth, and they're like biting the edge of their stall. And oh, they scare me. They just scare me. I'm sorry. I know they're beautiful animals, but they're so big. Um, Dan says here in. Oh, Gail says it must be a trotter, not a pacer, because it has no hoppies. Hopples. It has no hopples. Oh, I need the word hopples in my life. Okay. Here in Chicago, Diane says, I had a friend who was a driver, and he used to tell us all kinds of crash stories. I would think so. Don't, Gail, do the carts collide and stuff? I mean, it just seems like, I don't know, Hungry Hippos or something, just like a free for all of movement. And oh my God, it sounds terrifying. Gail says it's great fun. Well, Gail, you would know, right? You are royal. You are a harness racing royalty, so you would know. I know I would enjoy it. I know I would enjoy it, and hope that nobody got hurt, obviously. And Ruth says they scare me too. I've been thrown a couple times. Not fun. That's how I feel. I've been on their backs a lot riding around. It never goes well. It's like they know. They know that I'm not like a horse person, and they just try to get me off. And Diane says, weird, the statue isn't in motion. You know, that's an amazing point. You're right. It is weird that the statue isn't in motion. Again, it's a dumpy looking horse, right? There's no denying this is a dumpy looking horse. But um, it has something. When you look at folk art, and this is exactly the kind of thing that people who don't appreciate hooked rugs and folk art would say, oh, my child could have done that. My grandchild could have done that better. And I hate it when people say that. But it does fit into that category to a certain extent. It might be that the person realized that they felt good enough about getting the horse down, but not good enough about doing stuff with the legs. I have to say the back legs look great. The back legs look great. I mean, it's just we want to take about a third of the horse and condense him. He looks like that toy that used to be like the front of it was like a dog's face, and the back of it was a dog's bum, and the middle of it was like a slinky. Do you know what I'm talking about? Gail says hopples are straps around the legs. Aha. But Gail, otherwise, minus the hopples, otherwise does it look correct? So curious. Um, what's the stick on the left? I think it's just one miscolored piece. I think they switched to another material or they ran out. I don't think it's part of the composition. I think it's just the one strip that faded, like the border. They probably used the border color and just stuck in that one piece, and it went the same way as the border, just faded right out over time. I'm gonna say the ears are quite endearing too. The more I look at him, the more endearing he becomes. I'm going to move on, although I'm really enjoying this conversation. I love it when I learn stuff. I gotta say, I love it when I learn stuff. And I love it when I learn stuff about you all. Like, that's my favorite thing. Um, another horse. And yeah, I'm not going to say this one is better. This one is great, right? This is great. Wouldn't say he's better. He's in a different style. So we've got apples and oranges happening here. But you got to admit this is a pretty epic looking horse for a lot of reasons. Not just the way that it is sorry about that. Articulated. Like, it just looks solid. It looks good. But there's so much else going on in this piece. So, um, there is something descriptive about this one that is very curious. So listen to this. It is called Horse with a Wooden Eye. Now, I don't think it's like horse with a wooden leg. I think there's a bead for the eye. Don't you think? I can't imagine otherwise why they would say horse with a wooden eye. Hooked rag on burlap, 28 by 39, fourth quarter of the 19th century, lent by a private collector. Yes, Ruth, they are all in grayscale. With the exception, there's maybe 2 or 3 in this entire catalog that are not grayscale. I think 2. But all of the ones I'm showing are in grayscale. At the beginning of the show, I showed a seascape that was in color, that was very pretty, but didn't really have any information about the rug itself, and then the cover of the book. And I think there's one other. So, unfortunately, in this catalog, the most interesting ones to me, composition-wise, they're the black and white ones. And this one is no exception, Horse with a Wooden Eye. You know, looking at this, what do you all think? You are horse people and I am not. What do you think? Diane says this one looks Nordic. You feel like this one looks Nordic. What do you think is the inspiration for this? Memory? A memory of what a horse looks like? Statue of a horse? Print of a horse? Horse on your farm? When you look outside the window, there he is. What do you think? Because this really is a good form. Not that the other one wasn't. This is way less folky, but this really is a good form. I got to give it to the person who did this, and who knows who that was. But it's an exceptional piece, I think, partly because the horse is so solid. Um, it seems like such a capable, strong horse. There's beautiful shadow. None of the shadow is in the right place, right? We've got shadow under his mane. We've got shadow like a strap over his back leg onto his bum. We've got shadow under his neck, but his back leg shadows, that is correct, right? The 2 back leg shadows. But there's shadows in weird places, and it could be fading. The way that the face is done with the little bits of black, I think that's brilliant. Little tips of black on the ear. The way that the mane is done with the lines, amazing. The shape of the tail, in my mind, is amazing. It's not brushy. It's not moppy. It's not untidy. It's also not like regal looking. It's a really interesting shape, right? It's a very stylized tail. It is not in the same style as the mane. You would expect the mane with a tail like this to be a swish of a similar shape, but it's very different. I love both the mane and the tail. Seems a little bit, it doesn't seem super cohesive to me that they're 2 very different styles for managing the hair on this horse, but I think the horse is stellar. I think it is a stunning piece. Even more than the horse to me, this guy is a total showstopper. I mean, this is a hit or miss guy. This person clearly has run out of material. They've tried to drop in a landscape. I don't know. We can't know whether there was, the idea was that there was like a mountain range behind the horse, and that they stopped themselves and thought, oh, I'm not going to have enough contrast. I better stop, right? Feels like an Iceland pony. Um, Gosh, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait for Gail to chime in because I think she's gonna be a better person for this. It is an odd-looking horse, so I have to say, it doesn't look like the kind of horses we have at our stables. I wonder if it is a buckskin. Huh. It is a very sporty. I mean, all horses are sporty looking, but it does look a bit different, even to me, even to like a layman like me. The sky is spectacular. I wish we could see colors on this. Not only does the sky give us an extraordinary breakdown of color and shape, but it suggests to us the chronology, right? You can see. I can't imagine that the sky is meant to be a building or it's a reference to something, right? Because unless this person had some kind of like extraterrestrial experience or journey, that doesn't resonate with me in any way as like a building, right? That I would expect to see. But I think it's a crazy hit or miss that says this person was just hooking in this way. Like this is just the direction that this person was hooking, and maybe over the years, some of it faded, some of it didn't, and we've got this wacky pattern going on in the sky. Considering that it seems clear that the maker stopped doing that dark middle field, and I'm guessing because she thought again that it would not be enough contrast between the horse and the field. Considering that she put the brakes on for that, and somehow over the years the sky turned into this kind of hot mess, which is beautiful, but it is very distracting, right? She seemed in her lifetime while she was making it to really want to control the colors to make the horse the main character, and yet the weird punchline is that years, decades later, even a century later, the background really takes, I'm not going to say takes away, but it really competes with the horse because it's so extraordinary. Having said that, I think my favorite part is the ground. I think that's meant to be grass, but it is such stylized grass. I wonder um, if it was like, the thought was like, okay, let's do some grass, right? We need more, because it is so stylized. The horse is much more realistic than the grass, which makes you think this person was into horses, right? Horses was this person's thing. Grass, nature, flowers, probably not. Horses, yes. So that's interesting too, because you can see what they were good at and what they weren't good at. I still love the shapiness of the bottom, but it is just a complete mishmash. It is a sampler um, of different styles. And I mean, not everybody's good at doing everything, right? But the hit or miss is extraordinary in this. The horse is its own story, and then the crazy grass that's sprouting up is bonkers. It is just a very unusual piece. Gail says, I wonder if it's a buckskin. Diane says, it's so hard when it's only black and white, but he sure looks like a stallion given the neck thickness. That's okay, honey. You playing with your yo-yo? And Gail says, yes, I think it's a stallion. Does look like a stallion. Do you see that horse, Joss? Does he look like any of the horses you've ridden?
No.
Does he look like Showtime? Freckles? Does he look like Freckles?
Showtime.
Aw. Showtime passed away recently. His real name was
Really?
Freckles. Didn't he?
Buzz did.
Oh, Buzz did. I'm sorry. No, Buzz did, not Showtime. Sorry. No, Buzz passed around. Yeah, we called, watch your mouth. Right. I feel like I have to say that now because I feel like she doesn't realize that we're live, right? That we're just like looking at something. Showtime was a funny horse that she used to ride sometimes. I'm going to put this away for the night. And the thing about Showtime was Freckles, I guess he is still alive. It's Buzzy that died. But Showtime seemed so old and slow, and he just kind of was lazy. And he was always the horse that Rich put the kids on because he seemed like an ancient animal that was not going to. And for some reason, whenever what could be a kid. I rode on Freckles, right? I was a bad match for Freckles. As soon as you would sit on his back, he turned into another horse, and he was so naughty, and he would run and be crazy and fast. And my sister Jessica, who just over here, she nicknamed him Showtime because she said every time you get on Freckles' back, you think he's going to move like this, and he's going to have to be encouraged to trot and walk over stuff, and all of a sudden he's like, it's showtime, and he just takes off like a rocket with a child on his back. And I was put on his back for a trail ride, and he did that. Remember when I was riding on Freckles?
I don't remember.
He was like, me first, me first, me first, and he kept running to the front and galloping. I mean, I am not a rider. He was galloping alongside the other horses, like challenging them, like somebody on the highway driving in their car, going, me first, and passing everybody else. And man, I was so scared. It was awful. Um, and Diane, you said the grass made me think of Iceland. The sky made me think of a Nordic design of Northern Lights. Interesting. Let's look at it one more time. This will be our last image for tonight because it's 9, and man, I am tired. I get that. The grass also reminds me of Matisse, and of course, this is too early for Matisse. Matisse will much later in the 20th century do his collage work, but this horse is a real mashup of interesting things. Really unusual image. The one thing I will say, I could see that. The one thing I would say is this catalog, right? And we'll look at this again tomorrow because I'll be back with you tomorrow. We'll look at some more of these images. This little catalog of 30 pages, including the back cover, is filled with rugs, right? Filled with some of these old rugs. And the thing is, some of these are rugs that you just don't see anymore. You don't see them referenced again. It could very well be, I still have my Renaissance thing on, it could very well be that, the Folk Art Museum had them out in the 1970s, put them away, put other stuff out. It could very well be that some of these rugs have not come out since, or that they came out for a couple of months in the 90s or the 2000s and they're not out again. Because obviously every museum, most of what they own is archived, right, is being stored. It is not being shown. The vast majority, one less than, I think, 1/100th of what Yale owns is actually on display anywhere. I think it's much less than that, actually, much less than 1/100th. This is how it is for these places. Even historical homes, a lot of historical homes, a lot of them associated with the organization Historic New England, a lot of the house tours that you can do, they call them backstage or attic tours, where they take you on special tours, not through the rooms of the house where stuff is hanging up, but to the attic or the basement or the storeroom of the house. And they show you things that are not on exhibit and are not going to be on exhibit. And it's just the way that it is. It's fun to look out for those because it's your only chance to see things that the organization or the institution owns, but is not on exhibit. It might not be on exhibit in your lifetime. And it might be something that you absolutely fall in love with and you would love to see it, right? I think a lot of the images that we're looking at in this book fall into that exact category. There's very few from this book that I recognize from having ever seen anywhere else before, like ever. So it's interesting. The text is not solid. The text is not up to date, right? So all of the technical information is not reliable anymore. And the information that they've given us from one rug to the next also lacks detail, lacks what we really want to know, which is what color is it, right? I mean, it's cool to know that the horse has a wooden eye, but dang it, what color is it, right? Give us something to dream about, right? Let us fill it in with our eyes, with our imaginations. Interesting. And one of the great things about looking at images in black and white, the bad thing is you don't know, right? So maybe that is a bad thing. But flip the coin and think, I don't know what the colors are. But at the same time, isn't that interesting? Because you know that your brain, when you look at these images, your brain was filling in the colors for all of the images that we looked at tonight. It was. And whether you realize it or not, you were maybe doing very literal green in the grass and blue in the sky. Your brain was filling in the colors. And that's just how our brains work. Can't be sure that they were the right colors. But if you ever wanted to replicate any of these antique rugs, you would have to make a decision blindly without knowing what colors you wanted to fill in with. That's a great exercise. Whether you want to do it or not, it's a great exercise to think about. Just to exercise your brain, your creativity. Think, where would I put that color? How would I fill this in, right? That's why coloring books are so therapeutic. Right? It's not a great creative use of time. You're not making something new, but it is a good use of brain time, the same way that a puzzle is. So it is interesting to look at these in black and white. And you are seeing them differently than I'm seeing them. All of us, for sure, right? All right, let me catch up here. Good, I'm not the only one. Too bad it wasn't in color. I know. It would be fun to know in a lot of cases. And black and white forces your creativity and right brain into action at least. Yet remember the other day when we were talking, we were looking at the collection of textiles that were in the Denver Botanical Gardens, right? Karen Garby sent us a bunch of images from an exhibit, a textile show at the Denver Botanical Gardens, right? I think that's right. And one of the pictures, do you remember, it was in a coffee time. One of the pictures was of a sculpture that was like a mobile, almost, but it was flat, and it was like almost like a laundry line. And coming down were all of these strings at different lengths with all of these flowers that were three-dimensional, like felted. And remember that the artist wrote the backstory that they were all there had been like a wildfire or something like that. All of them were remembered flowers that were native to that area. I think something like that, right? And she said something about some of them were pressed. She had them flowers that were pressed in a book, and over time the flowers changed color. But she said in her mind, the way that she felted the flower and installed them into this sculpture, this fiber sculpture, in her mind, even though the flowers had faded, right, she still remembered them in full color. And I remember thinking that is such a beautiful thing, because that is a classic example of how our brain jumps. Our brain can make these jumps and build these bridges for us, because your memory is powerful when you have an emotional attachment. You definitely have an emotional attachment if you put it between the pages of your diary or your sketchbook or your novel, right? And you discover it later and look at it and it's faded. You absolutely remember what that flower was and why you chose it. Interesting how memory works, and interesting to remind ourselves that we are capable of filling in the gaps with colors, even with black and white images like these. We'll look at more of these images tomorrow morning when we do coffee time. That will be at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let me just make sure I don't have any doctor's appointments or anything tomorrow. It's weird that it's already tomorrow, but it is already tomorrow for us. Yep, I'm free until 4 o'clock. I have a meeting at church. I'll be with you at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's fun going through these together, talking them out. Always fun cataloging old rugs in our heads, right? Keep as much of that locked up in that memory museum as you can as you travel through your neck of the woods, your antique stores, your yard sales. It's so good to be able to recognize these rugs, right? All right. Love talking about horses. I'm glad you had the opportunity. There might even be more opportunities tomorrow. Actually, there are. I remember there's at least one opportunity tomorrow. Have a great night, everybody. Sleep well, and I will see you in the morning, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Think about Magpie Times and how you can be contributing to that issue, right? Takes a village to do something like publish a magazine, and I'll see